Okay, we're live. I didn't even see the 3, 2, 1. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Okay, welcome to RVing in New England. They made a couple of adjustments to the software this week, and it's not working 100% right, but I think we're all set to go, John.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, Bob. You know what? Last week we were sitting here saying we're looking forward to the show, and now we're sitting here saying we're looking forward to sharing the highlights of the show with our people all over the country, because you know what? They say if the first couple shows in January go well, it's kind of like the indicator of what's going to happen in the United States. And to say that Boston went well is probably the understatement of the week.
Yeah, that's true. We kind of followed in the steps of all the first 3 or 4 shows nationwide that went similar way. Very pleased to announce tonight, we just found out today that we did break our all-time attendance record.
No, Bob, you can't just say that.
Why?
We need a drum roll. We found out tonight. Bob, what was it that you found out tonight?
A new attendance, a brand new all-time record attendance.
All-time record attendance.
Right. We felt it during the show. We felt that there were a lot of people there. We knew there were a lot of people there, but it did in fact break the record. So we can say that tonight. It'll be an immediate release tomorrow morning.
Well, you know, the thing is this: when we were waiting for the opening, but remember on Friday afternoon, about 3:30, you and I were up in the conference area, where the seminar area room was, and we said, let's take a walk down to the floor, and let's get kind of near the entrance. So when the opening bell goes off, we can kind of like take a picture of people coming through. Well, we never made it there, and they had to let people in 15 minutes early because the fire people said, this is a hazard right here. You've got to send these people into the building.
Yep.
So they did, and that was Friday. And you know what? We left, 7 o'clock, and it was still an hour to go. And there were still deals being written. I mean, there were people coming into the building right up to 7 o'clock because it was an 8 o'clock show, and they sell tickets, an hour before closing time.
Oh, actually, it was 9.
9 o'clock. Okay,
talk about Friday.
That's right.
Let me just welcome Jerry and Walter and Audrey and Mark Polk. Audrey says, "Wish we could have gone." Well, we wish you could have gone too, Audrey. So.
But Audrey, what we're doing is
Riney's on.
We're going to give you a replay that nobody has ever seen before, and we're going to give you a replay not only with a play-by-play, but also with pictures as well, because our audience is. We figure, Bob, our audience is a visual group. Would you not say?
What are you saying? They're better with pictures than they are words?
Well, pictures tell the story. We can say the aisles were jammed, and they can draw an impression, but until they see some of those aerial shots of how jammed the aisles were, they're not really going to be able to tell the whole story. So with that being said, Bob, why don't we do this? Of the two of us, me and you, I mean, you're the RV expert. I'm the young, handsome reporter. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay.
No doubt in my mind, John.
So why don't we do this? I mean, we're probably at least a generation or two apart, would you say?
A generation?
Yeah.
You might get me to admit to a decade.
Why don't we do
being the younger?
For tonight only. Let's do this.
All right. Scott Nichols. Hey, Scott. Nice to see you at the show.
As we see the pictures.
And Audrey says, awesome. I heard the Tiffin people were there from that Facebook group. You know what she's talking about?
No, there's probably a group of Tiffin people. But Audrey, I think they sold. Are we allowed to say how many Tiffin products?
No, we probably shouldn't.
Okay, but they sold them. They sold some.
They sold several. Steve Giano's on. He said he would have liked to have gone, but he was in Florida catching the iguanas that were falling out of the trees because it was so cold down there.
Yep. And Mike Sokol was there. I was at Boston. It was jam packed.
Yeah, and Mike Sokol is there, and I probably have. And now, see, I have a technical issue tonight. Some of the slides came in sideways, so I'm not going to show you, Mike, because it looks like you're laying down on the ground. But Mike did a fantastic job on the RV electricity seminar. He had a full house every time. I didn't know what he was talking about, but he did a great job. So
Bob, let's do this.
So what is your plan for tonight?
So my plan is, why don't we do this? Let's just change the show up a little bit.
All right.
I'll be the reporter, the ace,
Okay.
the ace reporter, and you be the expert, as opposed to you be the reporter and me be the expert. Because again, of the two of us, you're the RV expert. I'm the young stud.
Okay.
In the organization. So with that being said, the numbers, do you want to say how many people actually showed up at the event? Because, everybody's guessing. Some people said, well, there was like 6,000 people that showed up. Another person said, wow, that's too many. You want to give us the exact number? Can you do that?
I can do that after we welcome Derek Flanders. He says, always enjoyed displaying our products in Boston. Derek's with
Okay. And you know what?
RV, and Riney's up there with Bradford. So, drum roll.
With that being said, drum roll, how many people showed up at the event?
17,202, which breaks the old record of 17,104. And as I said, we just got that information less than an hour ago, and it'll be an immediate release tomorrow morning.
But Bob, I think you got to say the interesting aspect of that number is there's two interesting aspects of it that make the number even more impressive. This was a 3-day show and not a 4-day show, right?
Right.
Okay. And it was a standalone show. It didn't have the auto show crowd coming to it. And a lot of people said that was good because it made parking easier, et cetera. But it was kind of a test to see if this show had the legs to stand on its own. And I'm guessing that that question was answered real early.
Oh, it was. But next year we go back to the auto show MLK weekend, and then in future years after that, then it's a possibility that things might change. I mean, it certainly worked out, that and the weather. I mean, you couldn't have asked for better weather. Who would have thought you had that kind of weather in January, that you'd be walking around in shirt sleeves, or I was walking around in shirt sleeves, and you only had one jacket instead of your jacket and sweater.
Yep.
Maria Galante Moore is on. Good evening, Maria. Okay, Mr. Reporter, cover reporter.
Okay. So Bob, this picture that you have down on the picture here of people lining up, that number, from what I understand, that picture kind of represented itself several times during the weekend, not only just at the opening rush, but like even on Sunday afternoon, there was another rush about 1 o'clock. And that kind of made it easier for the dealers to be able to give buyers, serious buyers, the proper attention that they needed in their presentation, right?
Yeah. And one of the things, if I could figure out how to get one of my pictures off the screen, that's what's kind of messing us up tonight. We're not 100% in sync on the pictures for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll be honorable and
do it. But with respect to that particular one there, as you look out, you're looking out towards the front of the building, and that line swings around to the right-hand side and all the way down the side of the building.
Yep. And I took some video on Saturday morning, and the line was up there to the right, and then all the whole length of the building, whole length of the building that the show was, and then swung around and snaked around all the way back. And that had to be several thousand people or several hundred people right then and there. Now,
let me address a question here, because Scott says next time you guys can use the whole building. Scott, if we use the whole building, you wouldn't be able to afford to come to the show. That would be triple the cost of the show. That is one of the most expensive indoor buildings in the country. But next year we will be back with the auto show, and they'll have 2 halls, and we will have 1 hall. John Sinisi, thanks for joining, John. John seconds that next time use the entire building and spread everything out. It would be nice, but the nature of the cost of doing business in Boston is is prohibitive. As I said, this is already the most expensive indoor show in the country. So,
hey, Bob, you bring up an interesting point. It's not really an event that people come to by itself. I mean, they come to Boston, see the show, but like with Jason Cole, they came on Sunday and they, had a group of 8 or 10 people, and they all went to restaurants around there. I know they went back out to Framingham, but it's really part of an event. It's not just coming to a show like some smaller shows where you go to the show, you stay for an hour, and you're done. I mean, that show, just when you walk in that room, I think when you look up and you see the ceilings that are so high up and the sun coming through, like the sun we had on Sunday, it just makes you kind of like want to feel about the outsides. Hey,
Jason says you also took some great videos of your shoes as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. We'll talk about that at another time. But I know exactly what he's talking about. So here's the deal. Bob and I got this new device to take pictures. And one of the things they said was take some low shots because it shows crowds, from their feet up. And I didn't realize the camera was reversed. So I'm taking a picture of my feet walking. And they're all saying, it's your feet. It's your feet. I had no idea what they.
Let me address, for some reason we are not picking up the icon that allows us to project the comments tonight. So we are definitely having some technical issues. Steve says, can you provide percentages of travel trailers to fifth wheels to A, B, and C?
Well, we can as far as stocking is concerned, where it's 88 to 12.
Yeah, it's
towables versus.
So it'd be tough. We didn't really take that kind of a number, Steve. There were obviously a lot of trailers, a lot of fifth wheels. We had a good number of Class Bs, not as many Class Cs. A's, we had some gas, we had some diesel. We had a good mix of everything. We had some of the nice new smaller trailers that could boondock off the grid with solar panels and lithium batteries. We had that, but would not be able to give you the percentages there. Just imagine, John says, just imagine how big the Springfield show will be at the Big E will be this year. I'm not sure they're going to expand. I think they're just going to stick with the 3 buildings, John. They had some extra space within that, but they might. But I haven't heard of anybody taking more space out there this year. So even though they have 2 extra buildings, I'm not sure that you're going to see them expand beyond the 3 buildings that they have right now. Certainly none of our dealers have said that they're jumping in and taking a lot more space. The shows become, the shows are expensive. It's expensive to get the units there and expensive to get them out of there. And I'm always amazed at how fast they get them into the building and get them out of the building. They cleared that building out pretty quickly.
Hey, Bob.
Scott says, will you guys be in the Rhode Island show? We will not be in. This is the only show that we're responsible for. We will probably be at the show at some time. We always go down to support the dealers, but I don't do any seminars in the Rhode Island show, and I don't do them in the Springfield show. I would if they asked, but they don't ask, so I don't go. We go to just see what the dealers are up to do that. Let me just make sure this isn't customer support.
Yeah. Now, Bob, we've got a couple dealers here and at least a couple attendees. Why don't we ask Riney and ask Bruce? Was it Bruce?
Bruce Derrick. No,
Derrick. What they thought of it, and they could just point in.
They can just point in, yeah. Jim Turntime's on. Nice to have you back, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
He was our guest a few weeks back. Jim's video, by the way, if you guys would help out a little bit, we did check the number this morning on the RV South Park. He's up to 13,800 views, and he really wants to go over 14,000. So either view it again or send it out to your buddies.
So, Bob, when you talked to Carolyn Weston, she said that they kind of had the feeling that it was going to be a good show when Friday afternoon hit and they were lined up out the door to get in. I mean, they are the professional promoters. They get the feeling. I mean, they can probably tell within the first hour of a show whether it's going to be a hit or a miss.
Hey, Mark Lebrecht just joined us. Probably still in sunny Florida, I suspect. Are you still coming home for the Springfield show, Mark? Glad to have you join us tonight. We miss you too. You're always a good fixture in Boston, but we just didn't see your smiling face, and We didn't see you walking off with a boatload of money because you sold all those Newmar motorhomes, which, by the way, we did not have a Newmar in the show this year. Hey, Brian, hope you make more space for other members to have a booth. We'd like that. I wish we could take half that other hall. It's, there's nothing as big as Boston around the area, so it's not a question of being able to move the show. It's a great location. It's just that they get very busy with a lot of other shows, and we have to live within the constraints of what they have. Derek Flanders says, thought it was great having it this weekend. Heard a lot of people say parking wasn't a problem, and we had a constant flow of people there with no football.
No football.
Yep, that's true. No football.
I mean, it was the perfect combination of no distractions. I mean, even though in the last couple of years we haven't had the Patriots to deal with because they've played on Saturday night generally, that weekend before the Super Bowl or the AFC Championships game.
Mm-hmm.
But see, I think a lot of people like that. There are a lot of technical issues to work out to get a standalone date, and people need to understand about it. I'm sure you know that as well. But these halls are sometimes booked 5 to 10 years out. So just being able to say, well, we want another date, you might look at that date and there might be somebody in Hall B that doesn't allow us to use Hall A, or somebody in Hall E. And there might be other building business that doesn't allow us the capability to have that freedom.
Yep.
Et cetera. Now, Mark Polk, tell us what you mean by that. Our sales spiked because of Bob's seminar. Tell us what you mean by that, Mark.
Who said that?
Mark Polk.
Mark Polk.
Yeah.
I know what he means. Because we include RV Education 101 in our series of resource slides. Don sent me a note Saturday morning that they saw a spike in the sales from the New England area Friday night, and it continued throughout the weekend. So people do listen to us and take our recommendations on those things. So I was pleased to see that, Mark, and very happy for you guys.
And I know Jason Cole and his group took my recommendation on a restaurant. And Jason, tell us if it was good. You don't have to tell us. Yeah, we'll tell them. It was La Cantina in Framingham, because they had such a large group of people. They didn't want to try to venture into the North End. So I said, hey, good Italian restaurant, easy parking. La Cantina was the place. Now,
Mark, so Mark says he will be back soon, but he's going to miss the Springfield show also. Miss the great people of the RV lifestyle and living the life at Gulf Waters RV Resort. He's down in Fort Myers. Walter Swenson says lots of people taking pictures of the slides with the links to their training. On my presentation. And I've had, as I do every year, I make that presentation available to anybody that sits in on it. And I've had over 100 requests for the presentation already.
So, Bob, for the people that are watching us tonight or will be watching us on the replay, do you want to make that same presentation available to them if they just put their name in over on the right?
Sure. If they, they can put their name and email, or they can email me at. Let me put my email up.
Or let me ask you this: I don't know if the comments are showing or not.
The comments are showing, but we're not able to move them over to the screen.
Okay.
So I can see them, but
okay, and I can see them too.
Now let me see if this is going to show up. Okay, that does show up. All right, shows up there, but on the now they are showing. So let's test that out. Yeah, see, now I can get Walter taking pictures of the slides. Yeah, a lot of people take pictures of the slides right away, especially if they want to go downstairs. If I'm talking about a particular dealer. Or something that they want to see right away. Riney says a number of people in the past have said that they drove there, and when directed all around South Park, just turned around and went home.
He said the heck with it.
Well, that was last year, Riney. Let me know if you heard that this year, because
in the past. No, he says a lot of people.
That was true, and it would be again. They have to use satellite parking, and I think the signage left a little bit to be desired last year. So we'll obviously address that. I am, by the way, for folks knowing, on February 6th, I'm going to have a debrief meeting with the folks at Paragon. So anybody that wants to put in comments here, you certainly can go ahead, and we'll make sure we include those in the meeting. But satellite parking takes place with a lot of those shows, and it was difficult. Some people did, after struggling to get into Boston, did turn around and go home. So we know we lose some traffic that way when we have multiple shows in the building.
And we'll be back with more of our show, but first, this message from John DePietro.
Are you going to do your?
Yeah, you're going to put my graphic up.
If I could get my slides to move. Boom,
Okay.
boom, boom.
So, folks, here's what we want to tell you. We want to thank you so much for joining us live, and because we know that Wednesday night's a busy night, and we've kind of created a niche here, and we hope that you'll continue to watch us loyally and faithfully, and more so, just to hit the share button somewhere on your screen and share this with another group of people, whether it's a Facebook group or some of your own friends or whatever. And that's what allows us to reach 7 to 8 to 10 to 12, 15,000 viewers per week. And we'd appreciate that a great deal. And Audrey Foley-Egan, thank you so much. Maria, thank you so much.
Not allowing me to bring in other graphics right now.
That's all right. That's all right. But Bob, we can talk going around in circles all day long, but let me pin you down. Okay? Because there are situations where people say there are a lot more people that come to other shows, but the thing that we've noticed, especially this year, correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that there were a lot of cash buyers, and they were buyers that would more than double their down payment, which kind of shocked the dealers. What are they saying about the economic profile of the viewer of the attendee this year?
Credit scores were much higher. Credit standing is much stronger. There was more disposable income to buy these discretionary products. And you're right, we had people just paying cash for the product. But the dealer said you can put down $5,000, they'd put down $10,000. So that's a good sign. Plus the higher credit score. So the deals were being approved by credit within 3 or 4 hours. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
let me address Susan Moniz. She went to the show. It was mostly travel trailers, handful of motorhomes. Very disappointing. Susan, we always explain to people, and we posted it, before the show. We cannot dictate what the dealers bring to the show, so they bring what they think is going to sell. Based on what they did bring, they brought the right product mix for this year for this show. But it's also a show where you can get to meet the dealers and get information and pick 2 or 3 that you might want to go to the open houses. We have 4 open houses, actually 5. I just heard about Longview RV this week. So we got, check our Facebook page. Our cover photo is 4. I'm going to be adding a 5th one so that you can go down and see those. But travel trailers and fifth wheels are a big part of the show because they're 80% of our industry, some cases 88%. And the big motorhomes, while they're still selling in very good numbers, they're not what they were 3 years ago. So they've switched that off to the lighter units and the smaller Class Bs and the smaller travel trailers that are, again, fit for boondocking and off the grid travel. Very popular, and they sold extremely well at the show. And there were a lot of those. So it's always a mystery until you get there. I mean, we know a couple of days beforehand what they're bringing.
Bob, let me recommend to Susan. Susan, just type in where your name, type in where you're from, and we will direct you to the dealer that's closest to you, because with those 5 open houses this weekend. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is that even if you're looking for travel trailers, you're not going to see more than a handful of what's available on the lot. So, for example, Campers Inn was the largest display at the show. And they brought a little bit of everything. However, if you go to any one of their locations, you're going to see much, much more at those locations than you would see at the show. It holds true regardless of the type of.
Bruce Flanders just joined us. So we had both of the Flanders, and I suspect, I don't know, are you home yet, Bruce, or are you still up at the Folan distribution show and finished up for the day? Tell John Poland that I said hello. And Audrey always says, I always recommend to folks looking for rigs to visit the dealers to see their rigs without the crowds from the show. Well, that's true when you get down to the point where you're getting ready to buy, but shows also serve a very good purpose in showing people a large selection of product. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Audrey's recommended for folks looking for rigs to visit the dealers and see their rigs without the crowds from a show. And, especially if you're looking for big Class A's like the Foleys are, I think they know that you're going to see many more on the dealer lines. Now you say, well, DePietro, then why come to the show? Well, you come to the show to kind of see a whole bunch of things, whether it be campgrounds, whether it be suppliers, whether it be some of the other products that you may not have had an interest in, but may be introduced to at a show. So regardless of what your situation is, we thank you for those that did come.
We got all the big guns on here tonight. Marty,
we got the blast from the past here.
Marty Hanoud checking in from West Palm Beach. You guys
wait.
You guys are doing a great job. What?
Time out. What do Marty Hanoud and Mark Lebrecht have in common? Whose money are they spending?
Whose money are they Oh, the kids' money, maybe. What?
No.
Whose money are they spending?
They both were former dealerships.
Well, that's true.
But they're still hanging around. They're spending.
And the other thing in common is they both sold their dealerships to Camping World.
Exactly right.
So Marty's USRV is Camping World in Berkeley, and Mark's Diamond RV is now Gander RV Outdoors out in West Hatfield.
So they're spending Marcus money.
Okay, Bruce says he'll say hello to John Folan for me. Still at the show in New York. Estelle is on. We had a great time at the show. Took our time and saw everything we wanted.
Marcus, look at he wrote the same thing. Marty wrote.
Thanks for the tickets. Estelle was one of our winners. What did Marty's Marcus money? Yeah.
Marcus
he's spending Marcus money now.
That spends good down south.
Right.
They're spending it down south in West Palm.
Estelle
had a great time. That's right. And Estelle even come up to us, right?
Who? Estelle came up. Yeah. Introduced herself. Yeah.
And
Walter says you might find the perfect rig. We bought our first tent trailer from the Boston show with no real plans to buy when we went to the show. I was telling that story, not your story, Walter, but my story. We bought our first motorhome in 1978, and I'd gone to the Boston show with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and no intention to buy. Had never been camping, hadn't been a Boy Scout, and we came home with a motorhome, and that started the whole litany of it. We bought it from Ray and Joe Walsh, who owned Camper Showcase at the time.
So, Bob, during your seminars,
yes,
which were always the most highly attended, and several of them were standing room only, what did you find to be the makeup, the demographic of the audience? Were there people that already bought? Were there people that were looking for their second or third unit? Who were the people that were attending your shows?
Actually, pretty much with all of my seminars, 90 to 95% of the people still had not purchased their first RV, and 60 to 65% of the people were attending their first RV show, and that is creeping up every year. So we're doing a great job of bringing new people into the show, but 60 to 65% were there for the first time. So they really enjoyed the seminar, because especially the ones that took it early in the morning, because some people told me it cut 3 or 4 hours off their day. They didn't have to go running around. They had a pretty good idea on what they wanted to see, and had a lot of their questions about RVs answered right there. So yeah, that is a big one. And I'm toying around with the idea, and I've talked to a couple of dealers, and actually I'd like some feedback from our fans on this, but it's a shame that we only do it once a year at the Boston show for a couple of days. What would you think if we took it once a month and took it to a dealer location, have the dealer sponsor it, do it at the dealer showroom, maybe on early in the evening or afternoon, or maybe on a Saturday, and let them showcase some RVs, so that after the seminar, which would be held right on the dealer's lot, you could go out and look at the units that you like. Because most of our dealers sell a pretty broad range of products. Some sell only trailers, but a lot of them sell trailers and motorhomes, and you get a chance to. So if we do it 12 times a year, we'll get more people excited. We'll sell more RVs. We'll get more people into the dealerships.
So what Zagami just took 5 minutes to say is this. What do you think about doing an introduction to RV lifestyle show at a dealership and moving it throughout New England? Is that something that you think others would have an interest in? And if you just type in next to your name down below, yes, I'd be interested. No way, don't bother. Keep your day job. Then we would know how to proceed on that. But Bob, while you were talking,
Yeah.
Walter wrote, besides, you may just find the perfect rig. We bought our first tent trailer from the Boston show with no real plans to buy when we went to the show. That's why people go to shows.
Well, that's true. And as Marty says, it brings back great memories. And tell your listeners, it's a great place to compare and make your wonderful deals. And that's true. And to Susan's point, I think the more experienced you are as an RVer, and you have every right to do this, but you'll be more critical of the show because you have specific interest and know that you're looking for a specific thing. But think of all those 65% of the people who are coming to the show for the first time. And if they walked in and the percentage was completely reversed and 98% of the show or 75% of the show is Class A diesel pushes, and they've never driven anything bigger than their SUV, then they're not going to be a happy customer. So you never please everybody at the show. That's for sure.
Okay. Bob, show him the dog. Show him the dog. You're starting to creep into the camera.
He's starting to creep in. He's only, the other one just sits there and relaxes, but old Wally gets a little rambunctious, but Harvey.
So here's what Maria, oh, there we go.
Harvey.
Two dogs. I didn't even know he had them there. They were so quiet.
Yep.
So Maria writes,
my wife thinks this is the greatest thing in the world. So instead of them barking every show,
she's got an hour.
We take them here and they sit on the left. That's right. She gets an hour off.
Yeah. So Maria writes, that's what we did. We went to the show in Tampa looking for one thing, and then it went in a totally different direction. Then we went to the dealers to finalize our choice. So I think that kind of goes back to the other people that said they were looking for a certain thing and didn't see it. There's so much new stuff coming out right now that whole Class B explosion in the camper vans. The people that remember, I mean, our demographics are probably such that people can remember those Volkswagens with the roofs that popped up. Well, guess what, folks? They're back. They're back and better than ever. And Winnebago's got one. Thor has one. Forest River has one.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say better than ever also. Yeah, solar panels and lithium batteries, off the grid type stuff. Sleep up on top in that tented area, sleep down below. 17 feet, 19 feet long. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve says, well, we'll be at the Springfield show. We'll probably be there in order to justify our trip to Springfield to go over to Red Rose Pizza. And Jason, if you want to come with us to Red Rose this year, we'll probably go Friday night. So Marty says the Boston show brings back great memories. Tell your listeners it's a great place to compare and make the deal. Steve says we got to get more campsites. Right. We need more campsites.
Brian's got an interesting comment. He says, doing a regional event is a good idea. We have taken customers to Mark's old place to walk around future customers. Regional shows are nice, Brian, but these shows are all privately held, including ours. Ours is owned by the Paragon Group, but they're not going to give up their shows to do a regional show. And, the three biggest locations are Boston, Hartford, and Springfield. And, we cannot tell dealers where to go. We'd be put in jail for restraint of trade. We can't tell somebody that they shouldn't have a show because this is America and anybody that can have one, anybody that wants one can have one. So that's always a challenge.
Look at Maria writes, oh, what a cutie. I presume you mean me, Maria.
No, she was talking about me.
I presume you mean me, Maria.
Mike Sokol said, now, for those people who did sit in on the RV electricity course with Mike Sokol or Janine Pettit's Girl Camper Seminar, we're going to find some ways to bring them back into New England also. But feel free to mention it to your favorite RV dealer that you sat in on Mike's, because he's looking to teach an advanced electricity class for the shop technicians and a basic electricity seminar for customers. And he says, what do electricity seminar in the afternoon, similar to what Janine wants to do with her Girl Camper college, teaching women how to hook up and discharge and empty the holding tanks and redecorate the units. So there was a lot of interest in those seminars. And
But not only was there interest in the seminars from the attendees, but on Sunday, when I walked in early in the morning, the technician who handles all the sound and lights for the seminars, the first thing he said to me was, "I learned so much from Mike's seminar." Now, this is the technician. This is the sound guy who does the lights and the sound and
that was amazing, right?
Wireless speakers, etc. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "He teaches stuff that saves lives." That was, you know what, Mike? You probably couldn't find a better endorsement than that gentleman there. I can't even remember his name, the guy with the Irish accent.
Jerry.
Jerry?
Jerry said, yeah.
Okay.
With all his years of experience, he was learning stuff from Mike. Brian says he was talking about introduction to RVing show. I don't know if you mean that we should take it out regionally. We have talked about doing it in campgrounds too.
There's two things, yeah.
So that's a possibility. Obviously, we're all over the world being on the internet. So Maria covered herself. She says, all four of you. That means me, you, you and the two dogs. Another new idea for Walter's full of ideas tonight. Another new idea for a Wednesday night show. Set up at a dealer to broadcast and have a panel of people, volunteers, to have a live audience for Q&A on RVs and RV travel. Bring traffic into the dealer, let them set up 1 or 2 units behind the panel and have a mini commercial to quick show the RVs. Kind of like the Friday morning on the Fox News where they do their live audience, right? Well,
what, the zip trip?
That would be a pretty good idea. The zip trip type of thing, yeah. If every Friday we did something else, because that's what we're looking for right now, is some new ideas to expand, because we are being recognized, and we certainly, we don't live on our egos. We threw those out the door a long time ago, but it was kind of nice to have people come up to us at the show who have been fans of the show and watch the show. They don't contribute. There's a lot of people that tune in every week, but they don't comment, and that's fine. They just sit there and learn and listen. So we had a lot of people that stopped us in the show. We actually got stopped on the way to dinner one night, and people recognized us. So we do have people watching the show. So now, with your input, how can we make it better, and how can we take it out wider, and how can we turn it into something even more beneficial to the dealers? And I like Walter's idea of doing it on site at a dealer with a live audience, because then the dealer he can send an email out to his customers and say, come down for a cup of coffee and meet John and Bob and be the live audience for the show, and we'll take the questions from the audience.
Yep. Another person had asked, not that's on the screen here, but asked us while we were in Boston, why do you do the show on Wednesday nights? And I said, well, you don't want to do it on Mondays because you have all those Monday long holidays, long weekends that would mess up the continuity. You don't want to do it Thursday and Friday because people are starting their weekends. So it was really between a Tuesday and Wednesday. We picked Wednesday because it's the middle of the week, and want to know if you agree with us that you like us to stay with Wednesday night.
So Marty says, do a remote podcast from the dealer. And if Marty was still in business, he'd have us set up out in the garage there, and he'd have all the chairs set up, and he'd have it catered, and Danielle would be doing all the catering and putting her fancy table settings out there. Derek Flanders says he likes the idea of that. Well, Derek, we already got the audience up. We would just, John and I would just sit in
fireside chat. Fireside chat.
Right. We'll just sit in front. So Wednesdays, Wednesdays seem to work out best for that. It kind of the middle of the week, and it breaks it up. So Cub Reporter, do you have another question?
I do have a question for you. Everybody says the demographics of RVers are changing from the retiree to not even the baby boomer, younger than baby boomer, the millennials and the Gen X's. How did it look at the show for baby carriages, strollers, and people maybe with teenage kids? What did you notice?
I tell you, we were amazed that they do seem to get younger every year, and that's true of the audiences in the seminars also. So we're really expanding the profile of an RVer, which is fantastic, and it matches the number of products that we have for them. So we've got products for everybody, and we got budgets for everybody. But yeah, we had a lot of we had some kids that were in those pouches on their mother and father's chest that looked like they left the hospital last week and came to the RV show this week. So they're starting them early, and we're still getting the older crowd. And there was that couple that we talked to, the Beach Bagel. I don't know, was she
right,
on?
Bagel. Yeah, I haven't seen her tonight.
No, the Beach Bagel. Okay, as she mentioned, she came looking for a small trailer and didn't go home with an Airstream, but she's going to buy an Airstream. She was just so impressed. So she never had looked at an Airstream before. She loved the quality, and she's going to spend six figures on an Airstream trailer, and that was her first show. Yeah.
Let me do my share commercial again, and then when we come back from the share commercial, what I would like for you to do is to tell our audience what some of the thoughts are that you're just mulling over as far as changes to the seminar program to do a lifestyle track and then a technical track.
Okay.
And while you're thinking of that, let me just say, folks, we want to thank you so much for joining us again on the live broadcast, and want to please ask you to share it with people that you know, whether they're looking into the RV lifestyle for the first time, or they're already in it, or know nothing about RVs, but they know that you guys RV. And by sending it to your Facebook page and Twitter feed and all the other social media sites that you use, whether it's Instagram or not, to invite them to join us on this broadcast. And now, the program, the question that I gave to you before, we kind of didn't know what was going to happen with the seminars this year because the stage location was changed. So the seminar room was off the main floor. But based upon the number of people that did find their way, with not the best signage of anywhere, we're very happy with the number of people that did show up, right, Bob?
Yeah, we had no complaints about the number of people that showed up. There was the thing that got us going was typically when we do the seminars from the show floor, we're done and we get a lot of questions. We wind up answering the questions at the back of the seminar area, which is distracting to the next person that's coming on, but also people who are trying to find their way around because there's a lot of traffic. So you're in the middle of people. But this year we had a kind of a sitting area outside the seminar room where we could go and answer questions. And I know Mike Sokol stood out there for 45 minutes answering questions, and I was there for almost an hour.
Time out. Mike Sokol stayed an hour after his seminar,
right?
Same as you. Yeah. Not just an hour seminar, but you know what? And I think people like the fact that our speakers were all regular old people that just happen to be campers, and that they didn't pull that baloney about, oh yeah, as soon as I'm done speaking, I have to sneak out the back door and go to the airport so I can do another seminar.
Yeah, they don't come for an hour and disappear. That's true. Derek says you can do the fireside chat in the rockers. Well, we will. We definitely will. But yeah, next year, what I'd like to do, if we have the rooms, and depends on what's available, but I would actually like to have a lifestyle track and a technical track, so that in the technical track we have all of the dealers that are exhibiting, if they want, have their service manager come in and do a seminar, and they could pick and choose different topics. And then on the lifestyle track, we have myself and Mike Sokol and Janine and other lifestyle or travel related seminars, and use 2 rooms, because I think we could fill up 2 rooms. We don't want to take everybody off the floor at once, but they certainly like the seminars, and they like getting a little bit more of an education, or being able to get their questions answered afterwards.
And didn't you get people that said to you they came for the seminars and just happened to be an RV show down below?
We actually, there was that one couple. He was an engineer. They were thinking about getting into it, and maybe they'll come back on Sunday, but on Saturday they sat in on every seminar and took a break in between. But they came literally for the seminars, and that's what kind of triggered the thought of, what if we take this stuff out to the dealership themselves? Because if we did that, then certainly they would probably have their service manager or one of their technicians available to answer any technical questions during coffee breaks and intermissions that you might have. So as we build out this idea of having more technical sessions and maybe taking this thing on the road, then we can work those types of issues and handle it right at the dealership level.
Let me ask Derek Flanders a question. I see that he's probably still with us here. Derek, what did you notice in your booth, not your booth, in your display area? What did you notice about the demographics this time? Was there any one group of people that caught your fancy? Certainly Friday afternoon was the retiree crowd when they came in at 4:00. Mostly the retiree crowd, because they have the capability to not have to deal with school hours for kids. But I'm just wondering what Derek noticed.
Yeah, Brian, I'm not sure, Brian, what you mean on 20 to 45 for sure. Oh, I suspect he means age group. And you're right. There were easily a lot of people in that 19, 20, 21, low 20 age group, and the 45 to 55s are prevalent, and there's a lot of those also.
Hey, Bob, I noticed Audrey in a side conversation with some other people today on Facebook was talking about her
doing that again.
We got to have them on again to talk about what they've got planned, because there might be some people that say, hey, this Foley crowd, we need to go some of the same places that they do, not necessarily at the same time, but a lot of RVers get ideas from other RVers as to where they want to go, because and sometimes it might not necessarily be a big tourist attraction. It might be somewhere along the way to stop on the way. Now, I don't think they're going to Myrtle this year, because I think they have a grandchild son or daughter planned to do in right around that time. But so Foley, stand ready. We're coming for you pretty soon for your annual visit. Bob, you trying to change photos there? Trying to change photos to? I mean, I know you took about 4 million pictures.
If it will let me. Oh, it did. Okay, so it must be working again. Okay, so there's the camper vans and a regular Class B, but the camper van with that roof that pops up, I think they sold everything they brought to the show. Class B's, camper vans, the small Class C's on the Mercedes-Benz. I think every dealer that brought them to the show sold them.
The red one was from our friend in Canada,
John Claude.
Yeah, not leisure. Wasn't leisure travel.
No, Pleasureway.
Pleasureway.
Airstreams did really well. People really liked them. Airstream of New Hampshire and Airstream of Maine. They're both owned by the same company. A lot of people thought we had two different Airstream dealers there, but the way the space is, because the show sells out every year and there's very little space available. And if a dealer leaves the show, the space is sold within a half hour to some other dealer that wants to come in. So that's what happened last year. Somebody freed up some space, and Profile Superstore up in Maine put a big investment into Airstream to get the franchise for Airstream of New Hampshire and Airstream of Maine. So they had two facilities, and it's one company, but they had to split it up. And actually, Lee's Family Trailer Sales also had split up their display because a dealer had left, so they were able to pick up another row that had 4 or 5 units on it. So they put their Cougars and Montanas on one row, and they put their other units, their Grand Design, their Sport. There was something else that they had. We're getting a little feedback, and John dropped off. It says he's back on. I don't see him. You here, John? Okay, yeah, John. The kickback came when you came, but I don't see you, so I'm not sure what you're doing at home there. But you're picking up a lot of feedback. So we got about 10 minutes to go. We might cut it a little bit. because of the feedback, and I don't want to be a pain to our folks and cause you any inconvenience tonight for what you've got. But as we say, there's frequently a changeover on a couple of spaces at the show. One thing that you folks could all help us out with is we really want to have more campgrounds at the show. And I know it's expensive for some of them to come in there, but we actually had a new campground up in the Manchester, New Hampshire area, Calif Cove Campground. They bought it last year, but it's been out there for a long time. Real close to Manchester and all the dealers up there, and they got 150 sites. So they got a lot of attention being a new one, but we'd certainly like to see a lot more campgrounds come in into the show, and that they were making their reservations. No question. Here we go. Buddy's back, I think. There he goes. Yep, he's back, but got some background noise with you. Can you hear us? Now you're frozen.
I hear you.
Okay, you're frozen. Yeah, you're a bit slow. All right, I'll tell you what. It is 7:52. So let me see if there's something that we might be missing. We'll go through the comments and put it down. Maria says, because of you guys, we are going to check out a couple of harvest hosts in Florida soon. Beautiful. Audrey says she does have a grandchild on the way, which might it certainly won't detract from their camping. She'll just take the grandchild with us. You know, children don't cause us to go camping less. In fact, they cause us to go camping more. So we'll have that. Walter Swenson, best business card received. Lee's family trailer business card is shaped like a motorhome. Lee's family trailer also, they made a big splash this year. Big investment in the show with the 2 spaces, but they also sponsored the seminar program, and Derek Emery, their service manager, did service seminars and did a very nice job, and that was his first time to do seminars at the show, so we like that. KOA Cape Cod is new ownership. Yes, we had them. They weren't on, but we're talking about bringing them on, Brian. They were good friends of Eric and Brittany Highland, who we had on about 2 months ago, about a month and a half ago. So we do that. So, all right. So I'm going to sign off for this week because John's obviously still having some problems on his other end, and we've already taken most of the hour for you. Thank you very much for joining. And please, if you would, share it with your friends and see how we do this week. And if you got questions, feel free to drop me an email, and then we put that back up there real quick for you. But you can send me an email anytime. I'll certainly be able to answer it for you. And like I said, we had about 100 people that requested the slide presentation. And I love your ideas about, or you're supporting our ideas about taking this out to the road and making it a monthly event somewhere at some dealer, tying together with some technical ideas. So till we see you next week, I thank you very much for joining tonight. Have a great week and a great weekend and a great Super Bowl. And we'll see you folks next week. Thank you.